kind of chaotic environment as a single mom. And so she moved back to Jersey and moved in with my grandparents and stuff.
Right.
And so went back to Paramus. But so no, I mean, I think she stayed in contact with him for a little while. Like but I was like, little, I don't have any memory of ever meeting him. But then he blew up. And then and then like some of my mom's friends, they made it huge, and they would always say, come out to LA, blah, 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 leave your kid with your with your parents. My mom was like, no, she wouldn't leave me. So she didn't. But yeah, so that's a random fact about me that I forget sometimes. So, thank you for you reminding me, because I have told that story in the past.
You have to ask your mom. She was in hair, right?
Yeah.
You have to ask your mom if she was in hair. Maybe, have I asked her this before? Maybe. If she was in hair with Lala Brooks, because I used to sing backup for Lala Brooks, who was in, I think, the first replacement cast, I think, of Hair on Broadway, I think.
Oh, wow.
And if you guys don't know Lala Brooks, she was the lead singer of the Crystals, which she sang to Do Run Run and Then He Kissed Me and stuff. And so I sang backup for her for like 2 or 3 years in New York.
What was her name? I'm going to text my mom right now.
Lala Brooks. Lala Brooks.
So
your mom must have good teacher.
Oh my God. My mom tells stories all the time. Like, see, part of the thing is that, my mom, many know, my mom is white. She's German and Italian and stunningly beautiful. And so, but she grew up like in theater and in show business. So she was around minorities and gays and black and brown folks and like everybody. It was the 60s and 70s, and theater welcomes everyone.
That was the time, man.
Yeah.
Like, that was before like every kid was being pumped through a BFA program. Like everybody was studio and like coming to New York at 17 years old. I mean, they were like smoking in dance class. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
My mom, she was an amazing tap dancer. She was a great athlete. She could also sing. Like my mom was extraordinary. She used to perform at the Steel Pier in Atlantic City for our folks. That was like every summer. My grandmother would be there, and my mom would tell amazing stories about Atlantic City back in those days, and like the divers who were like the real hot guys. They were like the hot shit, the high divers or whatever, and they used to jump the horse off the thing in Atlantic City, and like all the doo-wop bands and the soul bands come through and perform. And like she actually, when she was a teenager, she dated one of the stair steps. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Yeah, and Papa
you can sing.
Papa stair step. No. Michelle's the singer, not me.
I know. We have yet to hear Michelle sing. But Michelle, that's coming.
Legit. Nah. So anyway, Papa stair step had a crush on my grandmother, because my grandmother was a hot trot too. And so, but my grandmother was like, it was crazy. I mean, my mom's stories, she talks about a lot of folks, like who's another good one that people would appreciate? So Michael from Good Times, he was an unbelievable singer and actor. He was called The Me Nobody Knows, which was a lot of Irene Cara. My mom knew very well when she was in that show too. Who else? Like, I don't know, like a lot of those people from back in the day. Nell Carter. Yeah. So my mom tells great stories about being on the road and like, what it was like in the theater days. As a matter of fact, when she was dating the stair step kid, she was at the Apollo Theater where they performed. And, I mean, it was still kind of, the hippie days and love, all of that. It wasn't great if you were white dating a black. And so my mom remembers their bodyguards having to hold back some of the women from trying to get to my mom, because she was like the only white woman, girl. She was like 16, 17 at the Apollo there for the show. And my mom used to be like, I don't get, like, what is the deal? But yeah, believe me, my mom lived 5 lifetimes before she had me at 21. And to this day, she still tells me stories that are new.
I just want to say one last thing about this, just before we move on to other things, and we can make fun of Donald Trump here in a second. But so one of my best friends who I talked about on the show, hold on, Sarah, do anything for she won't do it. That's funny.
Very good, Kev Cox. Very good.
So this was my friend who I talked about, was at Florida State a couple weeks ago when the shooting happened, and she runs the theater program at Florida State. So her the kids in her program are having their showcase in New York this weekend. So she was in town. I got to see her yesterday. with some of our best friends, and we were just reminiscing about, our youth and going to auditions and class and stuff like that. And we were talking about how there's like this kind of, I don't know, I feel like there's this renaissance happening. This is probably not going to resonate with anybody here, but just let me have my moment. That when I first started dancing in the 80s, my dance teacher, she was like super old school, and she would teach jazz in like heels, like heel character shoes, and she smoked during class.
Oh my
And
God. I
in
think
the
my mom's tap tainter too, Mrs. Merrill.
yeah,
I think
she had a cigarette in her, and like
yeah.
I was a child, and my teacher had a cigarette coming out of her. But it was, I mean, at the time, it was like, oh, this is great. And she
Yeah.
used to dance with Gene Kelly's brother and all this stuff. Anyways,
Oh,
yeah. But like, there's this kind of moment that's happening right now in class in New York where people are starting to wear heels to jazz class again, and there's just something about it that's so amazing and awesome. And if you follow Steps or Broadway Dance or anything like that on Instagram, they film a lot of the classes now, and you get to watch people perform. It's really amazing. Go watch it. Yeah, because there's this. What's that?
You do tap? Do you tap?
Do
dance?
I?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was like that was the thing that I was.
Have you
the
ever been
best
to
at.
Steps on the Upper West Side, Michelle?
Yeah, ton of times.
Yeah,
I used to take class at Steps and Broadway Dance Center when it used to be on 57th Street, but it's now on like 45th or something. But yeah, anyways, those were the days. Those were the days. So anyways,
aside real fast, Tara, by the way, the fact that your mom put everything down into the side to raise you are the testament to that. I know you know that, but like I know everybody who knows anything about you knows that you are the byproduct. I mean, you are inherently who you are, but your mom made an incredible sacrifice and choice, and you are, the proof is in the pudding. You are the result, and it makes complete and total sense.
Thank you. Everything good in me, great in me, I get from my mom. I say that all the time, and I owe her everything.
Yes,
And my mom is the best. She's the absolute best.
Awesome.
So thank you for that, Joe.
we love Mama.
We love Mama Setmayer.
Well,
continue your story, Michelle.
what's that?
I've finished your story.
Oh no, that's it. That's just the story. I'm like having this moment of.
So my mom, she used to take dance lessons with Henry Latang. And she also took lessons with Debbie Allen with the dance.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Fame. Just name in the chat. Yep.
Yeah, like her manager, she had a woman manager back then. Her name was Fifi Tanzi. And she was a badass. Okay. My mom tells me stories. You know who she reminds me of from the stories? I never met her, obviously, of like Alex Borstein's character in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She was like that. Like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, she was like, she would curse. That's how my mom learned to curse. She jokes. She goes, she would call up these guys, these people for our jobs or, to push us for things. And she would curse them out every which way by the time and then be like, yeah, all right, call me back by. Like she was a badass. And her daughter was my mom's friend and she would perform. She had some talent. Here's the story with that. Her daughter was part of the discovery team that put together the Backstreet Boys.
Oh my God.
Yes, because she still went into management and stuff after her mom passed away. She tragically got like hit by a car or something, and her mother. And so she carried on kind of like in the business with that because she had a thing for managing. And she was part of Lou Pearlman's team that brought in.
Yeah, Lou Pearlman was a real.
Yeah, he was a piece of shit.
Yeah, he was a real mofo.
Like a total piece of shit. But she wasn't like, I shouldn't say part of his team. She was part of like in that area. She helped when he put out the casting call or whatever.
There's a really great documentary about him. I think it's on
Netflix.
And
there's a couple podcasts too. There's one of them she's mentioned. She's like she talks about how she helped put the original Backstreet Boys together and how fucked she got by Lou Pearlman. He completely cut her out.
Yeah, he's a terrible, or was. He's dead
cut
now,
her
right?
out. And it ruined her life. She went into depression and like drug abuse, and it was really awful. And it's fucked up because he was a terrible person. And they became huge, and I'm a huge Backstreet Boys fan. Anyway.
Yeah. Well. Should we talk about? We should probably talk about politics here for a minute. I just want to play this clip. We played it on the Stakes the other night. It makes me laugh so hard. This is the clip when Terry from ABC News asks Donald Trump what he thinks or how the Declaration of Independence makes him feel. Because if you guys don't know this, Donald Trump has a replica of the Declaration of Independence in the Oval Office, and he like has it like in a curtain Like there's like a curtain for like a reveal.
What is that, the
And
Ark of the Covenant? What?
right.
It's
I think he wants people to think it's the real one, which it is not. It is down the street at the National Archives. But yes, the look on Moran's face.
It might be Michelle, because now Marco Rubio is the National Archivist amongst his
We
other
just
stuff.
talked about that on Thursday. And by the way, Michelle, National Treasure was on last night, and I thought of
Was
you.
it?
Watch it.
Some other time.
Marco Rubio not being in charge of the National Archives.
He just is like weird, and I don't understand it. Okay, so here's the clip. It's very funny. Okay.
Original of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, and of course you have the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
It's the look. It's this at the end that absolutely kills me.
Respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
You can hear the record scratch. Like you can hear like what? I literally just wrote on my Substack, when it comes to intelligence, fictional Trump is like Einstein. If Einstein's theory of relativity was just whatever I say is true, believe me, and if his biggest scientific breakthrough was guessing elephant on a preschool flashcard, this guy is a fucking moron.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a total fraud.
And a curious fucking idiot.
What the fuck? Okay?
Yeah. And
I
like the
mean-
White House posted this as well last night on their
Because of course.
Instagram.
Because of course they did. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
None of this is normal.
No, this is
None of this is fucking normal.
Sick. It's just so sick.
But you know what's so disrespectful? Like, he's not Catholic.
No.
He's not anything.
He's not anything. But let's start with the fact that he's not even pretending to. He pretends to be Christian. I know the church that he goes to downtown, but he's not Catholic.
No.
And to 1 billion of the world's Catholics, this office actually means something.
Yeah.
And to denigrate it and to mock it is absurd. And I could only imagine if Barack Hussein Obama, as they call him,
Oh my God.
ever did something like this,
Can you imagine?
what would be going on in the Rust Belt with some of these voters?
Of
With people
course.
in
Yeah.
Ohio, in Michigan,
Someone's
the Catholic- the Catholic voters.
Sacrilegious. It's sacrilegious to these people. Like, it's so disrespectful. And yet he can get away with this. I don't understand it.
In the very same week that he just had that like completely cult-like White House, like religious nonsense where the lady who speaks in tongues. I mean, again, this is somebody who worships every Sunday at Our Lady of the Perpetual Mulligan. This is not a religious person. Like this guy, he couldn't cite a single passage in the Bible when asked about it. The Bible he shook.
2 Corinthians.
Exactly right. The Bible he shook when he tear gassed those protesters came out of Ivanka's purse. I mean, this is not a religious person at all in any way, shape, or form. He's co-opted religion like every fucking other thing. But how you can look at that and proclaim yourself to be religious, certainly Catholic, and not find that deeply offensive, but he doesn't give a fuck. That's the whole thing.
This is where someone's saying to me, he posted it, not the White House. This is the White House's Instagram, and there it is right there.
Yes. The
Yeah.
White House
So,
official account.
See the White House, and there
The
it
White
is.
House is disgusting. Their account
You
is
don't believe
disgusting.
me.
We talked about that the other day.
Such a
I'll
violation.
do it bigger here. Yeah.
Yep,
See that? There it
is.
is.
Just go to the White House Instagram. You don't have to take our
Yeah.
word for it. Just go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Anyways.
This is the guy who said he's never asked for forgiveness. He went to Liberty University and talked about 2 Corinthians. I mean, it's so
This-
embarrassing.
By the way, speaking of liberty, he's now moving to get rid of tax exempt status for Harvard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wait, because one day Democrats will be in power. And if that is allowed to
I
stand,
hope so.
but by Liberty University, but by every mega church that uses their pulpits to preach hate and intolerance
And
and
conspiracy theories.
and effectively to tell their parishioners to vote a certain way, which they're not supposed to do.
Well, yeah.
Goodbye. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to go down that road, Harvard will survive.
Yep.
Yes.
But-
Well, especially
Well,
isn't Harvard hiring a lot of attorneys that are
Close to Trump, yeah.
conservative and like friends with Kavanaugh and like all this stuff, which is like
Yeah.
very, very, very smart and
Yeah.
strategic.
Well,
But
because
also-
it's Harvard. They picked the wrong ones. I
Yeah.
wore my Harvard hat today because of that. for those who don't know, I was a resident scholar a resident fellow at Harvard in 2020. I lived on campus, and I'm still connected to the Institute of Politics at the Kennedy School. And like, I'm thrilled that Harvard has decided to fight back and not acquiesce. I have my "will not obey in advance" t-shirt on today.
Mhm.
And so like he's messing with the wrong one. If anybody can do, Harvard can, and they have access to the best of the best in the world at everything. So bring it on, Trump. You know what I mean? Like,
did you guys talk about what's happening in Oklahoma with the
Yeah.
20?
No, you missed the first 45 minutes where we were reminiscing about what we watched on TV growing up on PBS and cartoons, and we had a whole thing about that because we went down a nostalgic road, which was great and refreshing for a Saturday morning.
I appreciate. I want to.
When we were
that is awesome, and I just, since you said that, just as it, because I'm sorry, it was just awful, so hot, and we lost so badly.
Oh,
it was 40-1, I think, at the end of it. But since you said that, when you brought up Debbie Allen, I just real fast wanted to sort of segue, and then this Oklahoma Deadeye State Superintendent Ryan Walters, and
oh my God.
But Debbie Allen, when I was a kid, I was too young to stay up to watch the 8 o'clock shows, and so because I'm the youngest of 5. But my older siblings would watch Fame, and I would sneak down the stairs and hide around the corner of the stairs to try and see. Like, it was so inappropriate for me. I was little. It was like I could watch real people, and like, that's incredible. I got to stay up for those until, of course, then they did that super microscope thing where they showed the little things on your skin, and they look like monsters, and I couldn't sleep for a month. But Fame was the show I was too young to watch, and I remember like just that show. I mean, God, who can relate to that? Like, that show?
Yeah.
Fame was ahead of its time, incredible talent there. And to see, you're right, it was like a very realistic depiction of Juilliard, and it was it
was LaGuardia. It wasn't Juilliard.
It was LaGuardia High School.
LaGuardia.
I walk by every single morning when I take my son to school, because he goes to school not far from LaGuardia.
That's right. I stand correct.
And like Amsterdam in 66 or something.
Yeah.
Great cast.
That's right.
Great
and it was a mixed cast, and like,
and Irene Cara was on that too in the beginning.
She was.
Right? She sang the song. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was a great show. But yes,
one other that just quick, because people appreciate this. One other thing, when I was talking about my mom in another story, my mom was in The Godfather, the first one.
What?
My mom auditioned.
We have to do like a whole like separate show.
I know. We should have your mom on.
She is so just a quick story here with that. So she was auditioning for the role of the sister, and so my mom was so pretty. They said she was too pretty for the role.
Also, she wasn't related to the director, and the sister was Francis Ford Coppola's real sister. Yeah,
that is correct. However, and also there was supposed to be like a rape scene or something, and it was like too much, and they were like, no. However, James Caan took a liking to my mom and was like, we need to cast her, give her something. I don't know, put her in as an extra. I don't care. So she got like casted as an extra in like the wedding scene or somewhere like that. So she would be on set, and James Caan would come and try to like flirt with her, or it was not James Caan.
Yeah, James Caan was his.
Yeah. So he would come and like flirt with her, and like
brother, right?
Bring her stuff, bring her stuff, and finally somebody was like, "Dude, she's like 16," because my mom was 16 when she looked 25. And he was like,
Bill Belichick steps in, and he's like, "Well, as a matter of fact, because we'll circle back."
Or Ashton Kutcher, for that matter.
She said how like Coppola would like, they would call her into his office, and he would be eating a chicken wing. She says she remembers this. He was so gross that he'd be like chomping on chicken wings while he was talking about like the scenes or whatever. And she was just like, okay, oh my God, like, ew. So Robert Duvall, of course, and like these guys were all on set. And one time, so Robert Duvall lived in Tuxedo. You guys know Tuxedo, New York is right over the border in North Jersey. And so he would leave the set and drive home. And on the way there, Route 17 goes right through Paramus, right? You go for the bridge to Route 4 to 17 up to New York. So my mom needed a ride home, and he offered her a ride back to Paramus when she was like 16 or 17. He was a total gentleman, super nice. Like, she was like, yeah. And so
that's cool.
Isn't that cool? Fast forward to 2008. I'm working on the Hill. I'm advocating for my Border Patrol agents. That whole case, people, Ramos and Compion, Google it. It was my Erin Brockovich years of when I worked on Capitol Hill advocating for these guys. And Robert Duvall was a big Republican and very pro law enforcement. So he saw me and my work with the Ramos and Compion case, reached out through the congressional office that I worked for to find me, to talk to me about how he could help these guys, and invited me to meet him at the national conference of the National Sheriff's Association conference in Indianapolis. So I flew out there because he was doing like an event or something at that conference. I flew out there and met Robert Duvall, and we became very good friends.
What?
Wow.
Yes, I used to go to his house all the time. He has a beautiful farm out here in Virginia. And I would go to his house with his lovely wife, who he met tango dancing in Argentina. She's quite young, but not as, we're not talking about the same situation. She's like, anyway, she made amazing empanadas. But yes, I was buddies with Robert Duvall for years. And then like he would call me at the congressional office, and the little interns or whoever answering the phone would be like, Robert Duvall is on the phone. And if people who know him know he goes by Bobby, if you're friends, it's Bobby Duvall. But Robert Duvall is on the phone for you, Tara. I was like, oh yeah, put it through. So yeah, but then we lost contact after the kind of Trump debacle. I don't think he ever went Trumper, but he's in his 90s now, and he still lives out there. But yeah, it was I was buddies with Robert Duvall for many years. And when I told him the story about my mom, he almost fell over. He was like, wow, what a full circle moment. He goes, I said, no, you were a perfect gentleman. He goes, okay.
Well, it's funny that you say that, Tara, that your mom was 16 or 17, because I looked up Robert Duvall just to make sure he's still with us, and he is. Yeah. The first question on Google about Robert Duvall is, what is the age difference between Robert Duvall and his wife? And the age difference is 41 years.
41 years. Yeah.
And, so I'm not surprised he was into your 16 or 17-year-old mom.
Yeah. He wasn't, though. He was just being a nice guy. Because he married, I forget his wife's name now. I forget his wife's name. It's just escaping me now, but she was lovely. But they met tango dancing, because he's a big tango dancer from that movie that he made years ago. And she's Argentinian. And I think they met when she was like in her 40s.
Oh,
so
yeah. They just got married.
A little different than 24. I mean, it's still significant, but.
Yeah.
I have a fairly funny sort of tangential story about a famous movie director that I would, if you guys don't mind to indulge me for 1 second. I have found the story very funny since it happened. So many years ago, my now ex-husband was working he still is in the mixology cocktail world or whatever. And his boss was having a party at his fancy house somewhere in New York State, New York State. But, and it was a big party. It looked like a food and wine spread. I was there with my kids who were very little at the time. I think my son was like 6. My daughter was probably 3. So there's this beautiful spread, this big giant long table. I'll just say that my then husband, now ex-husband, wasn't exactly behaving. So we'll just put a pin in that. But so I'm sitting at the far end of this table, away from all the fabulous, sexy, beautiful adults, with the young people, like teenagers and my kids, right? So I'm like, I don't know anybody here. So this lovely young high schooler with red hair, she starts asking me questions, and we start talking, and turns out, she's in high school. And I was like, giving her unsolicited advice on how to live her life like big, and do don't worry about going straight to college, and make sure she travels, and even if it's expensive. And she's just listening to me, indulging me. I'm like basically opining about the life that I denied myself by going, straight from, whatever to having kids and all this. So, oh my God, did I go on and on and on? And she's the sweetest thing in the entire world. And I get up to get myself a drink, and my then husband says, "You know who that is, right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, it's this nice girl." And I think her
is
name
it Bryce Dallas Howard?
No, it's Martin Scorsese's daughter.
Oh.
I think her name is Sophia, and she has a driver. She's been all over the world. She was at the Oscars many times. I am this old lady who lives in suburban New Jersey, was giving her unsolicited advice on living her life large. And she sat there like, "Oh, that's a good idea. So Europe, you suggest going to Europe?" And I was like, "Oh yes, travel." Meanwhile, I got to give it to her, though. She was so gracious and so sweet and so friendly. And when other people there, all the sexy, beautiful people, completely ostracized the suburban mom, she was sweet and kind. And so shout out to anybody in the world. Shout out to her. I don't know. I think her name is Sophia.
I'm glad to hear that. Doesn't he have another daughter? Do they just do like a funny thing on like a video on Instagram or TikTok or something where
that might be the one. That might be the one.
Where she's got him like doing that funny TikTok meme thing where it's like, if you have a, I don't know. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Francesca. Yeah, she's a lovely human being. Just shout out, but like, yeah, she listened to me.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I was like sitting next to Martin Scorsese's daughter, and I was like, "Oh
my God!" Artie McFly in the comment, we need to start worrying about what kind of world we're going to leave for Robert Duvall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to find a picture. I think of from back then with the cowboy. I have a big cowboy hat on in Indianapolis before that we end the show.
So he was a Republican though, Duvall.
Yeah, but he was like a sane Republican. You know, he was like he. As a matter of fact, here's another crazy thing. So. Everybody here watch Tiger King?
No. Yeah, well, I tried. My husband was really into it. I couldn't. It annoyed me so much. I couldn't watch all of it.
Okay. So for those who watched the Tiger King, it was about that crazy guy that had the big cats and did the whole thing. And then they talked about this, like that industry. And there was another big cat, like zoo thing, but it's not a zoo. It's like, I forget what they're called, a reserve.
Yeah.
And so in Myrtle Beach, and it was called Tigers. And so I was at an event because Robert Duvall is a big environmentalist. And so he had this event at his house at his farm in Virginia that he brought in the exotic animal guy, Doc Antle, who ran this tigers program. And they would bring in like the little monkeys and they had a couple tigers or whatever, trying to get people to raise money to help with conservation for the big cats, the whole thing. And my mom, she in her adult life, she was a vet tech for many years. And when they lived in the Florida Keys, she actually took care of a mountain lion that was rescued. So these people down there, they were awesome people. The wife was like a race car driver, a yachter, and had a pilot's license. They were unbelievable people, and they would sail around the world all the time every summer. And so my mom would take care of their animals, and they rescued animals. And they had a rescued mountain lion named Krista. And my mom would literally like sit in the cage and feed her by hand fish, and like lick her fingers. Like she was a huge mountain lion. She could have killed my mom at any time.
Yeah.
Anyway, but my mom is like Debbie Doolittle. That's what we call her. She's got an unbelievable, uncanny aura with animals. They love her. And that's why I love animals. And it's a whole thing. Anyway, so my mom wanted to go. I was like, my mom would love to visit and like have like baby cubs and like pet them and the whole thing with the tigers. I'm like, she would love this. So the lobbyist for the tigers conservation thing was like, oh, you should come down as my guest anytime. We'll give you a VIP tour. You don't have to pay for anything. Just come to Myrtle Beach. So I met these guys at Robert Duvall's house. Finally get to go for my mom's birthday in 2013. We're down in Myrtle Beach to go to the tigers thing and pet baby cubs and the whole thing and look at these beautiful tigers and all of this, what they're doing. We have all these pictures of this. And I was like, man, this is so cool what they're, my mom's like, this is like my dream to like be like, I wish I could do this again if I was 30 years younger, right? Fast forward to the fucking Tiger King thing, come to find out that they were total frauds. They were in on this whole horrible, like illegal, like killing of the cubs after they have them.
Yes.
And Doc Antle has some kind of like weird sex cult thing where he's got like multiple wives and they're all younger. And like, it's a whole thing all tied into that weirdo Tiger King thing. So we were watching this and he's like part of it. He's in the documentary as part of the actors on this. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And yes.
Somebody put in the comments, the big cat people are weird. They are weird. And it's always,
it was so weird. So yeah, so there's the Robert Duvall connection to the Tiger King thing. And we were actually there.
Wait, Madam Power, there's a wild animal preserve in Saylorsburg, Pennsylvania. Really?
I think so. There's like they all know each other, and there's like it's because it's such a small community. And I think I remember them talking about that. Because if you also remember the crazy woman that they think that the Tiger King guy, like they all accused her of killing her husband, and then he like got eaten by a tiger. It was like a whole crazy. It was a crazy.
No, she was accused of killing her husband.
Right, she was accused of killing her husband,
and the Tiger King tried to kill her. As I remember.
Right. Yes, it was a whole thing, and he's in jail for that. Like that, the whole reason why he's in prison is because of all of the part of that and other things, and it's nuts. But anyway, that's crazy. Like,
can we just pause for 1 second? Yeah. Australia, if anybody here is from Australia, following in the footsteps of Canada, sticking it to the worldwide MAGA movement. So congrats, Australia. We are.
What did they do? What did I miss?
They re-elected Albanese.
They pushed back against, that's the funny thing. All these people were supposed to lose because incumbents prior to Trump were losing all over the world. Trump comes in, and all of a sudden, all these incumbent parties are winning re-election because nobody wants an effing Trumper in their capital city running their government.
Yeah, that's the Trump effect. So that's the second of the Five Eyes countries, right? In our Intel, the Five Eyes alliance that we have.
And of course, Britain has a normal prime minister, right? Labour finally won, so that's 3.
Yeah.
And so
I believe it's the first time in 20 something years or a long time that Australia is reelected their
you know what we
have?
Also a big FU to Rupert Murdoch, by the way, who controls the media in Australia even more than he controls the media here or in England. Like he's got a death grip on Australian media. Yeah. So listen,
have you guys ever been to Australia? Has anybody ever been?
We're talking about this at breakfast. My son is dying to go. I have never been.
Yeah. My husband's been, and he went to Melbourne, and he loved it. I would love to go. I've never been there. We've been to New Zealand, but never to Australia. I would love to go there.
I heard New Zealand.
When I was a kid, I was completely obsessed with Australia. Like I had posters and koalas on the wall. I was gonna live there. I was gonna go there, and of course, I never made it. The furthest I've ever been in that direction was Tahiti, but never been.
Listen, koalas are actually nasty. You know that they're little fuckers, man. They are not cute and cuddly. So if you ever do go, don't be like, oh, a koala. They will fuck you up. They are.
What happened to Joe's face that she tried to pet a koala?
Yeah, they're not. But with New Zealand, I see a couple people saying go to New Zealand. New Zealand it's funny. Last night we were just watching our photos from New Zealand. We spent my husband's 40th birthday there, and it was like an epic trip. And we were going back reminiscing about how amazing New Zealand is. And it's like our second favorite place in the world next to Italy. Everyone, if you ever get a chance to go to New Zealand, it is breathtaking. It is everything you've watched on Lord of the Rings. It is, New Zealand is, there's nothing that can kill you there, unlike Australia, which like everything can kill you there.
The spiders alone.
There's nothing native to New Zealand that can kill you. They have a poisonous spider that you'll get a little sick, you won't die. So that's why people like to backpack there, and they'll go and live off the land. And the people are nice. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place and great wine. That's my pitch for the Kiwis. We love them, and they have an amazing rugby team. The All Blacks. They're like the Yankees of rugby.
I feel like if you're going to go all the way to New Zealand, you might as well swing by Australia, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. I mean, you can make it but if you go, you need to do you've got to go for at least 10 to 12 days because the travel getting there, you lose. It's a long way to go. So don't think you're going to go for a week. You've got to go for 10 days to 2 weeks to really enjoy it. We hopped over to Fiji on the way home, so we could at least check that box off on the way back because you had a long layover there on the way back. But yeah, I would love to go back to that part of the world. It's beautiful there.
My daughter is only 12 and almost 12. She does a really funny Australian accent. I can't do an Australian accent, but she's like, Mom, if you just say rise up lights. And I was like, rise up lights. And she said, you just said razor blades. See?
Oh my gosh.
Now I speak an Australian accent.
That's great.
Oh, here we go. I found it. I knew I was going to find. Here's a photo of my mom and I and Robert Duvall. We had a reunion in 2008. Wow. And you want to hear the crazy thing about where this photo was taken? This photo was taken in the living room of Eric Prince's mansion in Middleburg, Virginia.
What? We're going to have a whole, Sarah.
Yeah.
They're all coming out today. It's like Meatloaf, Robert Duvall.
Deep State. Wait a minute. Did you ever work at Comet Pizza?
I know, right? Oh my God. So that's why it's funny to me when anybody calls me a left-wing liberal. I'm some left-wing liberal loon. Yeah, okay.
Eric,
you know me?
So, Kev Cox raised a good point about what happened in the UK on Thursday. I want to talk about it quickly because maybe not shockingly, but Nigel Farage, who is the proto-Trump and a fascist and a bunch of other things that are
just
awful.
much in a tinier package.
Yeah, a much tinier package and a much more clever package, I think. Who's that? Oh, was that you, Robert Duvall?
I told you
packages are probably
Indianapolis. Anyway,
but they he just had an unprecedented local victory, his Reform Party, and beat both the Tories and Labour. Kev, you said that it doesn't bode well for Labour here at the next general election. I think that's going to be a while, hopefully, before you guys have one. I hope they're not going to call it early. But it is kind of troubling, because I could see if the Tories were to beat Labour, because the policies aren't kicking in for people in Britain yet with Labour. But Nigel Farage is kind of that's a bit nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
I'm surprised at that, actually. But Nigel Farage and that ilk, they were responsible had a large part, also the Russians, with the Brexit bullshit.
He's totally funded by the Russians. Nigel Farage is completely a Russian tool.
Yeah.
Like, beyond.
Yep.
So,
Well, speaking of extremists, I think it's worth mentioning what's going on with Germany's AfD party, which, if people don't know, is like the rebranded Nazi party. Some people are like, they're far left, it doesn't really matter. They're extremists. They meet on the other side. It's saying here, Politico Europe, top officials of the Donald Trump administration have lashed out at Germany after the country's domestic intelligence agency classified the far-right alternative for Germany, AfD, aka the Nazi party, as a proven right-wing extremist organization. Now, I will show also this tweet from Marco Rubio, which is really disturbing. He tweeted, Germany just gave its spy agency new powers to surveil the opposition. That's not democracy. It's tyranny in disguise. What is truly extremist is not the popular AfD, which just took second in the recent election, which they did, and that's alarming. But rather,
so did the Democratic Party, by the way, Marco Rubio.
Right.
Yep.
But rather the establishment's deadly open border immigration policies that the AfD opposes. Germany should reverse course. So I mean, yeah.
JD Vance said something about this too, didn't
he?
Well,
yeah, they're all up in it. I mean, and this is also the AfD party, by the way. You know, Elon Musk went there and addressed them, gave a speech to the AfD party, and said to people in this age group, right, of the four of us sitting here, you don't need to be ashamed of your family's past. Like, that is a big message that they're trying to give people, because a lot of them are the grandchildren of Nazis. And he's saying, don't be ashamed of that, like, lean in. And so that's where this uprising of this, skipped a generation extremism is bubbling back to the surface.
But can I just raise one important thing here? Never in the modern history of the United States, have we so blatantly started criticizing an ally domestic politics, right?
Yeah.
It's just not done. They're the largest country in Europe, in the NATO alliance. They are, I believe, still the largest economy in Europe. They are our steadfast allies, and they have been for many decades. And the fact that you have the Secretary of State, who's now also the National Security Advisor and the National Archivist, and I forgot one more job.
USAID.
Wait, he's the National Security Advisor now?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's the acting. He has 4 jobs right now.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Well, great. Super well.
I mean, in Quesadilla 79, he said we trash talked all the allies that didn't help us invade Iraq. We might have been critical of their foreign policy not helping us invade Iraq. We don't get involved in domestic politics like this.
Right.
Especially when their national security services choose to do something that they choose to do that doesn't affect us. And, AfD is infiltrated by Russians. It is. Putin. And the fact that for some reason, the entire federal government apparatus, from J.D. Vance to Marco Rubio to Elon Musk, is going out of their way to praise AfD is very suspicious. We don't do this for Le Pen in France.
Right.
We don't do it for Nigel Farage in England. What is the deal with us consistently praising AFD. Like I'd like
They
some
didn't do
analysis.
that with Maloney and the Black Star in Italy, which is the neo-fascists over there in Italy.
There are
all roads lead to Putin, right? I mean, as Nancy Pelosi infamously said, all roads lead to Putin.
But I don't understand what I'm sure somebody knows this. We don't know it yet, but I'm sure we will. What is this fascination specifically with Germany and specifically with AFD? Like that is a totally like it's all out there in the open. It's the only party in the only country in Europe that they are consistently obsessed with trying to lift up. Why?
Yeah. It's right. Katie Vance went over there in the election to boost when he went and insulted everyone at the Munich security conference and kicked out Europe. He made a stopover to go see his buddies at the AFD to boost them before the election in Germany, and they gained some footing there. They didn't get, thank God. I think they got like 19% or something, which is the most ever though. That's bad. It's like very, very bad that they're gaining traction.
And with MAGA and Rubio, all these, every inquiry, every speech is a confession, is essentially with all of this too, because they're holding a mirror up to themselves. Because if we remember, I think it was when Barack Obama was still president, they were doing some kind of surveillance right into the Trump campaign because of their contacts with foreign adversaries, because it doesn't matter if they're opposition or not, or if they happen to be members of your own party. If they are a danger to national security and the democracy of the United States, it doesn't matter. It has to be investigated. It needs to be, surveilled in whatever way. And so what they're basically saying is, oh, don't do that. Because that's wrong and that's anti-democratic. But again, it's like, I know you are, but what am I?
And if you all remember, it was the Australian ambassador who was having that conversation with George Papadopoulos,
the coffee boy.
Right, the coffee boy bragging about Russian stuff, and he was like, "Oh, is that so?" And then was like, "Excuse me. Yeah, y'all might need to know this." This is what the conversation I just had, and this is bad. And that's what kicked off the whole Russian investigation.
And between Paul Manafort and Michael Flynn, I mean, the dots are like jumping off the page, screaming and slapping you in the face, folks.
And Paul Manafort working for a Ukrainian Russian oligarch that was Dmitry Medvedev. Was it Medvedev or
Medvedev?
Right? And he was on his payroll, giving them Trump campaign information, giving it to the guy in the Russian
which I will always remind people that it's the Republicans who began the Steele dossier. They're the ones who started it and funded it. And it wasn't until after the fact that then, yes, it was handed off to the Democrats because there was so much compromise. There was so much investigation on Donald Trump and his decades of business and contacts with Russia. I mean, hello.
Guys, I did a whole show on this yesterday with Olga Latman and Lev Parnas on my Substack, and I would normally not tell everybody to take 90 minutes out of their life to watch anything that they don't necessarily want to watch. But I'm telling you right now, my jaw was on the floor the entire 90 minutes.
I'll have to go watch it. Is it on your YouTube as well or just on Substack?
Yes, it's on my YouTube also.
Okay. So I'll watch it on my TV.
Or my Substack. It's like crazy and it connects a lot of these things I didn't know. But he knows
talking about.
Lev was talking about it because Lev
lived it,
and Lev was the Steve Witkoff of the first term. Lev was like crazy the stuff. Like I don't even know how Lev is talking about all this stuff. I guess his attitude is I might as well just get it all out because that way it's going to.
I mean,
how he's not in jail is just.
Yes, he was. He wasn't.
Well, I know, but I'm like still.
Oh, they're going to try to put him back. I mean, I can't. Like, the stuff that he was saying, you guys.
He didn't get a pardon or anything, did he? No, I didn't think so. I didn't think so.
But what's also concerning, since we're talking about all of this, is last night, the Trump administration asked the Supreme Court to clear the way for Musk, for Doge, to access social security systems containing all of our information.
Jesus Christ. Jesus. Well, on that note, did you guys know that there's an election happening in Texas today, May 3rd, right? Right. That Elon Musk wants to start a town.
Here we go.
Because this is the beginning of the network state stuff that we have been talking about. So it's a very small little constituency that's going to even vote on this. And most of them are
2/3.
Right. 2/3 of them are employees of SpaceX. So this is likely to pass, which means that there's going to be a small town called Star something. I'll find a screenshot. I'll put it up. But that this, and like Elon Musk will essentially be the little mayor. And this is what they're trying to do in Appalachia as well. They're trying to colonize parts like, poorer parts of the country that they can control, because then what will happen is that they can build out an economy. They will be able to function.
Starbase.
There's a road called whatever. I'm going to find it. But anyways, it's so that they can start to operate outside the jurisdiction of the United States, so that they can do like weird testing on things without anybody looking at them. And then eventually they'll have to make the argument that they are not a part of the United States at all. I mean, this is like, it's sick stuff.
It's how it starts. And also, by the way, this is also the very ugly reason why Doge going into all of our government agencies and dismantling them and neutering and decapitating our federal agencies that have any oversight over into stopping these things. That is what this is about. That's why Elon Musk and Doge doing all of this. It's about paving the way for them to do this, because if the federal government is in tatters and the agencies that normally would have put a halt to all of these things, and how many of those agencies were already investigating Elon Musk and his businesses and his bullshit and what he was doing, all of this is connected to this. And we are not people. This is where, same thing with what's going on with the national park system. Mel was one of the first to point this out, and it's happening now. They're trying to propose another $900 million in cuts to the national park system. So they bankrupt the park system so foreign governments can come in, or Elon, whoever the fuck, buying up our parks, our national parks. And they create these network towns, these network cities, or whatever the hell. This is so nefarious. It's so much bigger than just Trump's ego or him being a psychopath. He's just a pawn in a much, much bigger.
Oh, yeah.
And to bring it back to this whole Russia thing, because there's this is not, I don't want to sound conspiratorial, but this is all connected, right? Musk is on the phone with Putin 24/7. Russian money has
Starlink is a link in Russia.
Russian money is funding and has funded Donald Trump throughout his entire life. He started, if you listen to this left thing, started out his career, his father started out his career building in Brooklyn, building in Queens. Can't do that without the Russian mob and the Italian mob. You could just not have to. If you're going to build anywhere around Coney Island or Brighton Beach, you need to deal with them. So what's just insane about this is that Steve Witkoff is now having his fourth meeting, or just had his fourth meeting with Vladimir Putin in the Kremlin. Steve Witkoff, not a elected official, who's not an appointed official, who's not Marco Rubio. And Marco Rubio has 4 jobs. Not one of them involves meeting with Vladimir Putin, meeting with the Iranians, meeting with Israelis.
Steve Witkoff, what the Secretary of State is supposed to do.
Yes, or the National Security Advisor. He is Steve Witkoff, who is a nobody on paper and is a real estate developer, but also has huge connections to Putin. Through people that he did business with. He's meeting with Putin all the time. If you think that they're there to talk about peace in Ukraine, you're on drugs. Because what this is all about
I know you saw this, that he's been using a Kremlin assigned interpreter in these conversations.
Not only a Kremlin assigned interpreter, so the way it's arrayed is Putin sitting there with 10 of his people. Witkoff comes in by himself, even without an interpreter, and turns to the interpreter and says, "Are you with us? Are you with the State Department? Or are you with them?" It was a fucking, sorry, Dad, Kremlin interpreter.
Of course. I made KGB.
You guys, I made some money. I made some money when I was younger, like translating with visiting like the Russian. I remember like the women's field hockey team came over, and I it's a quick way to make money. It is really, really, really tough, because it's really nuanced. And that was the Russian women's field hockey team. I'm not talking about like
high-level diplomacy.
Right. Because it's very, you can imagine, colloquially, very nuanced. You have to really know your, like you don't use the Russian translator for this stuff, but that's not even the point. The point is that all of this is interconnected. It is all about making money. The crypto stuff that Trump and Junior and all these people are starting.
Yep.
God knows who's pumping money into that, but I guarantee you it's not about
The deal they just made with the Qataris in to build a resort in Qatar.
And that's all we know. That's only what we know about.
That's right. That's exactly right.
This crypto thing is terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really bad.
That's all tied into the network state thing too. And El Salvador, guys, like we're getting heavy now, and we probably should wrap up at 11:40. But like, we'll talk more about this. The crypto connection to El Salvador, the network states and all of that, because it is all connected.
Yeah, this is where I want to throw this up just really quick. There's a headline from April 8th in Mother Jones. Christian Theo Bros are building a tech utopia in Appalachia. What could go wrong? Here's the next. So it says there's a name. No, there's a name for the rough concept that was it Isker? I think Isker describes the network state, an ascendant of buzzy tech movement where internet groups are beginning to explore what it might be like to start their own new countries. At first, these new countries would appear online and eventually in actual physical locations. Simply put, the Highland Rim Project is the Christian nationalist take on that idea. As new founding CEO Nate Fisher put it last year on X, nation states are not the principal form of government today. I see no reason Christian nations or peoples couldn't organize network states.
This is Gilead. This is fucking Gilead.
As with many things, the network state movement began in Silicon Valley, of course. The concept is the brainchild of investor entrepreneur Balaji Srinath. Sorry, I'm not even going to try. A close friend of PayPal titan Peter Thiel, again, of course, and a former partner of Andreessen Horowitz. Yep, the firm run by venture capitalist Mark Andreessen. In 2021 article on this website, he laid out his vision for a plan for people seeking to build a new utopia, or as he put it, a fresh start. Sure, there would be old-fashioned conventional ways to do this, such as forming a new country through revolution or war, but these options are not only, really hard, but also unpredictable. A cruise ship or somewhere in space were appealing possibilities for new countries, but both presented logistical challenges, blah, 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 blah. So they're saying, just consider the possibilities. Eventually with this new nation it would be so big with the economic power that other nations would be forced to recognize it as legitimate. And once that happens, conventional laws in more conventional nations could become almost irrelevant, along with the nations themselves. Why on earth would say a pharmaceutical company choose to spend billions of dollars and decades of testing on a new drug when they can just go to a deregulated network state and take it to the market in record time? And like, that is like, there's so many levels and layers to this, like the pronatalist stuff, like, the Maha crap, the I want to be king of the world stuff. I mean,
and the annexing of Greenland. I will continue to mention that. That's
the first state.
The ambassador that he implemented here, his name is Ken Howery. He went to Stanford. He is a PayPal co-founder. He is besties with Peter Thiel. He was throwing parties up for the inauguration. Like, look, all of these people, I'm telling you, Ken Howery is the Greenland guy. Look him up. Yep. He's also buddies with Kit Kennedy, who is RFK Jr.'s daughter. Like, all these people are in cahoots. I'm telling you, it's bonkers stuff. It's bonkers stuff. And it sounds crazy and it sounds like lunacy, but it's not. And they're counting on us thinking that it's lunacy, that it sounds crazy. But unfortunately, we have to pay attention to these things, unfortunately.
And we'll keep drawing attention to it because you're starting to see little bits and pieces in the media, but there has not been a real deep dive or
nobody has yet. And I'm like, what are you waiting for?
Well, because it's the fire hose of fuckery. There's so much things happening. We're about to go into a damn recession because of this dumbass.
I know.
With the top and Trump tariffs. And so now, it's a little hard to focus on getting people to understand, because most people don't even know what crypto is or what it is. You tune it out. I still don't really even get it. But
I don't get it either.
Bad, and we don't want to do this. And so, but it's hard to keep people's attention, and that's all by design.
Well, listen, I think we should just write some strongly worded emails or letters.
I think you're right.
I think that will take care of any of the problems that we have.
Yeah. And what he's doing also, by the way, which, I mean, we all scroll any social media app right now and you'll see it. The picture we talked about of the Pope, of him as the Pope.
Yeah.
What he's doing is the classic game of distract and look at the shiny outrage object over here. You're all going to chase this carrot because you have to, because you can't ignore it. But at the same time, because we have to talk about it. But at the same time, what does it do? It distracts from all the things you both.
Well, but you guys, it's more nefarious. I think it's even more nefarious. And I actually have a Substack coming out on this on Monday. But here's the problem. In the history of modern autocracy, it's never been that an autocrat comes to power when times are good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Sure. Whether it's Putin, who came to power shortly after the ruble collapsed and the Russian economy was in complete disarray.
Yep.
And then he had to blow up a couple of buildings outside Moscow just for show, just to prove that the outsiders are trying to kill us.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Whether it was Hitler in 1933, who really rose to power in the 20s when the Deutsche Mark was so bad.
Right. And in the aftermath of a global pandemic.
A global war that the Germans had lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So if you're wondering why Trump, and there was a quote that is going to be on Meet the Press tomorrow that I was going to run, but couldn't. But I'll just read to you. What he said. Basically, his clip was he was asked twice by Meet the Press moderator Kirsten Welker whether it would be okay in the long run if there were a recession in the short term. The president said, "Look, yeah, everything's okay." So he wants a recession. Mm-hmm. People are wondering why he's doing these tariffs when he knows, and he sees what's bad for the economy. Why they're defunding cancer research, Alzheimer's research, vaccines. Why they're trying to make us poorer and sicker. And why they're jeopardizing our national security.
And the FAA and the ATC, by the way, factors in.
Yes. And the reason everybody's like, why would he purposely tank every element of society, whether it's healthcare or the economy or our national security or our safety, all of it. And the reason for that is he needs us to be rock bottom so that he could seize power.
Yeah, he had to break it. It wasn't broken. Actually, in fact, we were doing really well in pretty much everything. We were the envy of the world in many, many ways, especially for the last century. And so he's like, okay, well, how do we break it? And so that's why it's the meta tagline, right? It's like move fast and break stuff. Yep. And that's what they're doing. They're moving very fast and breaking stuff. And meanwhile,
I alone can fix it.
That's right, Julie.
Chaos is the goal. Chaos is the goal.
Which is the mantra of every authoritarian who's come to power, to Julie's point, in those environments, because people are now desperate because they're poorer, they're sicker, they're less empowered, and they're less
the Hunger Games.
Yeah, it's all of it. That's right. Because guess what? The people who have the billionaire class, they will survive a recession because they have money and assets and things that are recession proof. And then they come in and they buy up things when it's
they're buying and they're making $1 billion bunkers, and because they're afraid of all of us. And that's the thing that always gives me a little bit of peace is I'm like, there are more of us.
And y'all saw that they're hoarding toilet paper and all that other shit at the fucking White House.
That's starting. That's starting.
And I'm saying, this is just like what happened with COVID. So folks, you know what? I'm not going to say don't go. That's crazy. No, go and buy the toilet paper and the things that you need now. Go and do that.
I'm telling everybody that I know, these are the things, at least for me, like, listen, I had masks and Lysol wipes in my house in early February of 2020 because I was watching what was going on. Yep. And so, like, I'm telling you right now, batteries, AAA, AA, have as many of them in your house as you can. Get an analog satellite antenna radio. Okay. Because you just don't know. Get, I have solar chargers for my phone. Make sure you have flashlights, water, toilet paper, non-perishable items, just keep them.
You can get antibiotics. If you can get antibiotics, I mean, honest to God. Yeah. I'm just saying.
It's crazy. But that's that if you don't remember anything we talked about today, remember that. Be prepared. And that goes back to my Boy Scouts and the garage sale that I was at today. Be prepared, people.
Yeah. And somebody said if you have kids, stock up on diapers. Yes. And also if you have pets, get lots and lots of extra pet food in your house like that. You're going to be glad that you did that, because here's the thing is that, and I talked about this on the stakes, is, there's FlightAware where you can watch all the planes all over the world. I have been watching, there's one for vessels, right? So when you go to this website, all the little yellow dots are the cargo ships. Outside of Shanghai, there's like a bajillion ships just sitting there with no place to go. You look at the port in Los Angeles, there ain't nothing. Okay. And so we're going to be running out of stuff here in this country in the next couple of weeks. And I'm not trying to make people afraid and panic, but there's, don't panic, prepare.
All right, let me just say this about the ports real quickly, and then we're going to go. Here's the deal with ports. It takes 15 to 30 days for a ship from China or other parts of Asia, but I'm talking about China specifically because they have 145% tariff on them right now, to arrive at the port of Los Angeles or the port of Seattle, right? Between 15 and 30 days. We're now hitting the 30-day mark. Yesterday, in fact, was the 30-day mark of liberation. Los Angeles ports, as Michelle said, are sitting empty, as is Seattle, as is Long Beach.
Yep.
West Coast ports. It takes another 2 weeks or so for the effects to be felt in the Midwest, and then another week after that at the port of Chicago, and then eventually the eastern ports, the port of Newark, Elizabeth, Miami, all of it, right?
Yep.
So within the next 2 to 3 weeks, the entire country will be depleted of new products coming in.
Yep.
And very shortly thereafter, the store shelves are going to be empty, which is what the president of Target, the executive director, the CEOs, whatever they were, of Target and Walmart and Home Depot told the president at the White House 2 weeks ago or a week ago, which is why he stopped trashing Jerome Powell, which was not the point of the exercise, right? Jerome Powell's monetary policy, that's more about keeping the dollar strong.
Yeah.
This is about, but he hasn't done anything. For all that he says, they're negotiating deals with everybody. Not one deal on the table yet.
No.
It's going to be a painful back to school for people in September. And it is going to be an incredibly painful Christmas because this stuff doesn't get ramped up. Even if he changes his mind tomorrow, doesn't mean that China will, because
there's no bouncing back.
No, supply chains, like people that, again, they are counting on the American people being ignorant about how basic economics work in this country, which unfortunately a lot of people are, and how supply chains work. You know, 99% of the shoes you wear on your feet are built are made not in the US.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Like, so there was an economist on talking about, hey, if you like $600 Nikes, well, great. Then we can build factories here and have them made in the US. But the reason why you can buy $150 Nikes or $120 Nikes or whatever is because they're manufactured overseas. All of this is going away as long as the companies in the US have to pay $145 tax on the imports. That's what happens. The countries that they come from, they don't pay. The manufacturers, the small businesses,
and then they pass it on to us.
Right. Even
they have to pay that. It's important for people to know.
Exactly, Joe.
They have to pay that money before the stuff gets off the ship.
Yep.
So that $10 product is now $22.45 because there's a $145 tax on it, and the small business has to pay those taxes before they can get the product off the ship.
And listen, there's going to be small businesses that aren't going to be able to absorb that cost before they, before they pass it on to a consumer. So small businesses are going to go bankrupt. And, this is the kind of stuff back in November. Okay. Like, obviously we were all devastated that Donald Trump won for a million different reasons, but this is the one that I was like, buy stuff now. You need a new laptop, get it now. Whatever that you need. I saw somebody here say, get like I bought a radio that has a hand crank on it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, unfortunately, this is where we are.
And the part that's really scary is when all this goes to hell, he's going to say that he needs to invade Greenland. Right? To take Canada because we need those resources because now they're not coming here. Well, no shit, they're not coming
here.
And
people are going to protest, and he's going to say, well, this is why I need to do martial law. And I'm telling you right now, if there's any gun people watching this right now, if he suspends the Constitution and if he imposes the Insurrection Act or martial law, you're not going to be able to walk into Walmart anywhere or any sort of gun place and buy a gun. Nope. You are not going to have the right to do that anymore. So I say all that to say,
happy Saturday.
Don't panic, prepare. I mean, the first half of this was about tap shoes and
Meatloaf.
Mr. Rogers and Meatloaf, but the second half is some real dark shit. But you know what? Also, this came across.
Make it run on toilet paper, guns, ammunition, and hand crank radios.
But I'm gonna go plant my garden right now because
if I had a yard, I would be. If I had a yard, absolutely. I also just want to put this up really quick. This happened while we were on air. This is my phone. National Endowment for the Arts, which then ties into NPR and PBS2, began canceling grant offers hours after President Trump proposed eliminating the agency for his budget. Now, again, the NEA counts for a tiny bit of a percentage of the national budget, right? But it somehow pays itself in, I don't know, percentage points in the polls during elections. I don't know why it's a constant thing, but here we are. And the NEA, which is, a wonderful, great thing, because again, and I say this country, there was a time when this country produced the greatest political minds, the greatest scientists, and the greatest artists. And all of these things are equally as important. And the culture of the United States was the envy of the world. And the NEA is a big part of that. And cutting that, just like we cut other things, is going to have a ripple effect around the world for years to come.
By the way, he just proposed this budget. It has not been adopted by Congress. So
Correct.
the fact that we're all doing
in advance.
The fact that everybody's doing this preemptively is actually terrifying, because it just means that they don't really care what Congress does. They're just going to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Because
not
they
to
don't
get
think
into
Congress has any power to control it, because by the way, Congress has castrated themselves for the last several months because they keep punching themselves in the dick. Thank you, Congress.
Right. And
Well,
not
to have dicks to punch them in first, Joe.
well, right. And not to this, we're going to go here in a second here, but this is why, if you follow all of us on our social medias and you follow us on our other shows and whatnot, this is why we're so pissed off at Gretchen Whitmer, because, to get this one thing, again, you are obeying in advance of a dictator who's doing how much damage to all of us. How much of those, jobs or whatever, this economy in this part of Michigan is going to, how good is that going to be when the country collapses a few months from now?
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like,
when Trump comes in and says, I want to build a concentration camp here.
Yeah. Oh, but the jobs.
Right? Or if you don't agree, we're going to pull your funding for the air base or whatever else. But that's why people where is the line? There's always a reason. You cannot negotiate with fascists.
No,
nope.
You're either going to have jobs, but they're not going to have any public health or public education or medicine or access to any kind of healthcare or access to safe food, safe milk, safe air, safe water, like
chicken, anything. And this is what I played this clip on my Instagram the other day. I don't know if you've seen the movie Don't Look Up, where this comet is hurtling towards Earth and no one's doing anything about it, and everyone's just going, and then eventually the tech bros and whomever else make up this lie that the comet is going to have rare minerals and resources, and it's going to create jobs. And so Jennifer Lawrence's character goes home in the Midwest to see her parents.
Dad.
Oh, Don't Look Up,
glad
right?
to be home. Unlock the door.
No politics. None.
What are you talking about?
Your dad and I are for the jobs the comet will provide.
Yeah.
The divisions in this country are bad enough. We don't want more of that in our house.
And that is how I feel when I'm arguing about this.
Yeah.
That's how stupid it sounds.
It's happening everywhere. Everyone should watch Don't Look Up again now through the lens of us living through this hellscape with Donald Trump. I gotta go, guys. It's noon. Gotta go. Love you all. Happy Saturday. And we'll see you guys next week.
We'll see you guys on Wednesday noon.
Wednesday at noon, everybody. Have a good
Bye,
weekend.
everybody.
Buy toilet paper.